Right, I hope you can hear me okay. Thank you for checking out this video. This video is going to be sort of more a targeted approach to a concept. Um, if you look at my Time of the End series, it's a 12 to 13 video series, but in the early part, I really explore this idea of the sixth king, who is sort of a predecessor to the Antichrist, which is the eighth king. So there's a seventh king in there that lasts a short time. But in that series, I explore the sixth king. And so this video is kind of a follow up or a tandem, a parallel to that, where I'm going to talk mostly about the sixth king and try to expose a little bit of that so that we know what to or what's coming to set the stage for the Antichrist, which is the eighth king. So I'm going to go through a couple verses in Daniel 8, Daniel 9, and Daniel 11. And so in this, in Daniel, he's given kind of two sort of scenarios. One is he talks about a comparison between this king of the north and a king of the south. And the king of the north, through the different analogies, we come to find out that this king of the north is this king of Greece or Grecia. And then we also find out that this is the shaggy goat, and there's indication that this is the king of the north, and also it says the shaggy goat comes from the west, flying over the whole earth to attack the king of, and the king of the south is the king of Medo, Persia, and also this ram with two horns. And so in this video, we're gonna talk about this shaggy goat with the prominent horn, because the prominent horn is during the period of this sixth king, and when this sixth king is destroyed, this prominent horn is broken, and then in that breaking process and the aftermath of that is where the seventh king arises, but only for a short period, and then the eighth king, the Antichrist, is set up. And there's a lot of things that play into the eighth king being revealed. That's the fifth trumpet. It's where the dragon releases the son of perdition from the bottomless pit, and all that sort of thing. So there's a couple trumpets that play into this sixth king, which is well, the second trumpet is where this this kingdom is broken, where this prominent horn, which is Babylon, essentially. So all those things, all those rivers kind of flow into these ideas. But so for this video, we're gonna stay in Daniel, and so I'm gonna work backwards. I'm gonna start with Daniel 11, and we'll come back to Daniel 11 because this is the sort of the scripture that I really want to explore, because I think there's a lot of things happening in the world at the moment. This is July 23rd, 2020. So there's a lot of things in this passage that I see a lot of parallels, or some things that if they just fall into place, that I'm keeping an eye on. So I'm really seeing if some certain things fall into place that would indicate that this is the person that's talked about as the sixth king. So this is Daniel. Um, uh, Really, what I want to focus on is Daniel 15 through. I'll go ahead and read through 24 just so you can see the characters. So there's three characters. There's the willful king, which is the sixth king, and then there's this tax collector that sends out the seventh king sends out this tax collector, and then the eighth king is the despicable man, the man of sin, the vile person, the son of perdition. Okay, so here we go with Daniel 11:15 through 24. Then the king of the north, which is the shaggy goat, the king of Grecia, will come, set up a siege work, and capture the fortified city. The forces of the south, which is the ram and the king of Persia, Medo Persia, will be insufficient defense. Even his elite troops will not be strong enough to resist. The invader will do as he pleases. No one will be able to withstand him. So he will establish himself in the land of glory, and he will have the power to destroy it. He will determinedly advance with the full force of his kingdom, but he will make an agreement with the king of the south and give him a daughter in marriage. His object will be to destroy him, but the agreement will not last or work out in his favor. Next, so this is still the sixth king. Next, he will put his attention to the coastlands and islands and capture many. But an army commander will put a stop to his outrages and cause his outrages to come back on him. After this, he will put his attentions to the strongholds of his own land. And I kind of see that happening in a situation. Um, but he will stumble, fall, and not be seen again. In his place will arise one who will send a tax collector. So now this is so that was the breaking of the sixth king. Now here's the seventh king. Um, in his place will arise one who will send a tax collector through the glorious kingdom, but within a few days he will be broken, though neither in anger nor in battle. And so then that's the seventh king. And now here's the rise of the eighth king. There will rise in his place a despicable man, not entitled to inherit the majesty of the kingdom, but he will come without warning and gain the kingdom by intrigue. Large armies will be broken and swept away before him, as well as the prince of the covenant. So that covenant, where the sixth king said the agreement will not last out or work in his favor, and it talks about in 17 he will make this agreement. So this may be the covenant or the agreement that this king breaks or whatever, as well as the prince of the covenant. And alliances will be made with him, but he will undermine them by deceit. Then, although he will have a small following, he will emerge and become strong. Without warning, he will assail the most powerful men in each province and do things his predecessors never did, neither recently nor in the distant past. He will reward them with plunder, spoil, and wealth, while devising plots against their strongholds, but only for a time. Okay, so then that was that 11 showed the different kings, these three different, the sixth, seventh, and eighth king. So now I'm going to go to Daniel 9, and And this starts in 24, and I'm just going to read the rest of the chapter. So it says, 70 weeks have been decreed for your people, for you and your holy city, for putting an end to the transgression, for making an end of sin, for forgiving iniquity, for bringing in everlasting justice, for setting the seal on vision and prophecy, and for anointing the especially holy place. So there's about 6 or 7, or some of these descriptions had like 2 little things in them. So there's all these have to be fulfilled. All the not just a portion of those, which a lot of people have dismissed this because 1 or 2 of these elements have been fulfilled. So we're still waiting for this, a lot of this. Know therefore and discern that 7 weeks of years, which is the commentary here. So 7 weeks will lapse between the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed prince. It will remain built for 62 weeks of years with open spaces um, and moats, but these will be troubled times. Then, after 62 weeks, Mashiach will be cut off and have nothing. The people of the prince yet to come will destroy the city and sanctuary, but his end will come with the flood, and desolations are decreed until the war is over. He will make a strong covenant with leaders for 1 week of years. For half of the week, he will put a stop to the sacrifice and the grain offering. On the wing of the detestable things, the desolator will come and continue until the already decreed destruction is poured out on the desolator. So this is where there's that agreement, and it sounds like it's set up by the 6th king, and then things happen, and then the the desolator comes and violates that that covenant. So then now we're going to go to Daniel 8. And this is I'm just going to I'll start at 5 because this kind of gives the description. And then I think I'm going to jump over to the Revelation scripture, which talks about the 7th and 8th king and the 6th king, so that we can give that perspective. If I can find it on time off the top of my head. Anyway, so this is Daniel 8:5. I was beginning to understand when the male goat came from the west, passing over the whole earth without touching the ground. The goat had a prominent horn between his eyes. It approached the ram with 2 horns, which had been standing in front of the river, and charged it with savage force. I watched as it advanced on the ram, filled with rage against it, and struck the ram, breaking its 2 horns. The ram was powerless to stand against it. It threw the ram to the ground and trampled it down, and there was no one that could rescue it from the goat's power. The male goat then became extremely strong. But when it was strong, the big horn was broken. So there's that prominent horn, that's the 6th king. When the big horn was broken, we see that tax collector king. And in its place arose what appeared to be 4 horns in the direction of the 4 winds of heaven. Now, a lot of teachers, scholars, and all that kind of stuff say that this was already happened. It was like the breaking, I think, of Alexander the Great, or that kingdom back then. And I view that as that's a historical parallel and a type and a shadow to what's this is coming that plays into that. So don't just throw out this teaching because you have that understanding. Take that understanding and use that as like a type and shadow that of what is going to happen. So I know this teaching here that I'm teaching you right now contradicts or you know appears to contradict that, but that's my viewpoint on that, is that historical occurrence was a type and shadow. So anyways, I'm going to get back into this. Out of one of them came a little horn. So now that was the period of the seventh king, and now here's the eighth king. Out of one of them came a little horn which grew extremely big in the direction of the south and east and the direction of the glory. It grew so great that it reached the army of heaven. It hurled some of the army and the stars to the ground and trampled on them. And this part of this is also sort of that parallel to the dragon tail sweeping a third of the stars out of the sky. Yes, it even considered itself as great as the prince of the army. The regular burnt offering was taken away from him, and and the place of his sanctuary was thrown down. Through sin, the army was put in its power along with the regular burnt offering. It flung truth to the ground as it acted and prospered. So that's the eighth king, the Antichrist, the beast leader, doing that thing. So I'm gonna see if I can find, pardon me. I don't have my notes on hand. I'm kind of just winging this video uh, for some of it. Want to find. I think it's like, I'm gonna pause the video real quick and then I'm gonna find this. All right, so I found it. It's Revelation 17, and it's talking about the whore Babylon being broken, which is that prominent horn. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read all of 17, but I'll just. Then came one of the angels with the seven bowls, and he said to me, "Come, and I'll show you the judgment of the great whore who is sitting by many waters. The king of the earth went whoring with her, and the people living on the earth have become drunk with the wine of her whoring." He carried me off in the spirit to a desert, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast filled with blasphemous names and having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and glittered with gold, precious stones and pearls. In her hand was a gold cup filled with the obscene and filthy things produced by her whoring. On her forehead was written the name with a hidden meaning: Babel the Great, mother of horrors and of the earth's obscenities. Okay, so here's where it gets into the different kings. I saw the woman drunk from the blood of Yah's people, that is, from the blood of the people who testify about Yeshua. On seeing her, I was altogether astounded. The angel said to me, "Why are you astounded? I will tell you the hidden meaning of the woman and the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns that was carrying her. The beast you saw once was, now is not, and will come up from the abyss, but it is on its way to destruction. The people living on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life since the foundation of the world, will be astounded to see the beast that once was, now is not, but is to appear. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman is sitting, and they are 7 kings. Okay, 5 have fallen, 1 is living now, so that's the 6th king, and the other is not yet come. That would be the 7th king. And when he does come, he must remain a little while. There's that 7th king just remains a short time, like we saw in Daniel 11 and 8, with the shaggy goat, the prominent horn, the broken piece, right? The beast, which once was, now is not, is the 8th king, which we saw that was the despicable person, the vile person, and the one who exalts himself, to those armies of heaven. It comes from the 7 and is on his way to destruction. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet begun to rule, but they receive their power as kings for 1 hour along with the beast. So 1 hour with the beast has a rulership for 3.5 years. So keep that in mind. They have one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will go to war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will defeat them. See, like, there's two kind of doctrines that are taught, and one taught more than the other. We're taught that the beast overcomes the saints, and there's scripture that says the beast was given power to overcome them. But here it says that keep that in mind as well in this battle. It says they will go to war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will defeat them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are called, chosen, and faithful will overcome along with him. So we will overcome the Lamb. With the Lamb, we will overcome the beast. So keep that in mind in your fight, that you will overcome the beast. That you don't have to place yourself in a victim role in this situation. But anyways, I'm going to get back to Daniel 11, and whether you agree with me on this part, I'm not set in stone in this, because I thought a lot of what like Obama was doing with like TTP and all that, or TPP, sorry, kind of fit some of this coastline, and turning itself into, well, I want to read this again, just so you know what I'm talking about. So the part that I'm really keeping a close eye on with these presidents, is that, and one is that this president has established himself in the land of glory. He set up the U.S. embassy there. He was on the 70-year commemorative coin, and he's doing a lot of work with, like that glorious land. So then it says, the king of the north will come and set up siege works and capture fortified cities. And mind you that this king is also at war with this king of Medo Persia. This country has already broken possibly one of the horns of this ram, in that being Iraq, and Iran is possibly that, the larger horn that comes up after, that's greater. And so this king is fighting against that ram, that which is most likely Iran. And so once you see Iran, or this ram horn broken by this goat, this prominent horn goat, that it's not long until this prominent horn is broken, which is, ends up being this Babylon kingdom and stuff. So then the king of the north will come, set up siege works and capture the fortified city, the forces of the south, the ram, will be insufficient defense. Even his elite troops will not be strong enough to resist. The invader, the goat, the prominent horn, will do as he pleases. No one will be able to withstand him. And so the U.S. is pretty much that has that um, military might behind it that would satisfy this. Um, he will establish himself in the land of glory. That's been done. He will have the power to destroy it. He could if he wanted to. That's not his intention, though. At least I don't think, at least not on the surface. He will determinedly advance with the full force of his kingdom. But so this is the thing that we have to look out for, is he will make an agreement with the king of the south. And I think they tried to do that with a nuke deal. But we'll have to see. And that kind of went sideways. So, and give him a daughter in marriage, would have to figure out who that character is. Um, his object will be to destroy him, but the agreement will not last or work out in his favor. So that could be that nuke agreement, or it could still be a deal to build the temple, which a lot of people feel like that's probably what it is. Which, if you go back to what was it? It was either Daniel, Daniel 9. It talked about, from the time and the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, which, excuse me, it's possible, and it's most likely that Jerusalem will be destroyed. Like, it'll be like, I don't know, they'll have to rebuild it. So some people think that was done in 1948 or something, which that doesn't fit into prophecy because the 70 years has already come and passed. Like I said, there's in I believe it was 97 or 2017 that was fulfilled, that there was 70 years. That's why they had that 70th commemorative coin for possibly the sixth king or Donald Trump. So a lot of these earlier prophecy theories have already fallen apart because the 70 years has already come and gone for the rebuilding of Jerusalem, and this so-called that Yah has gathered his people back into the Holy Land. That it doesn't fit with prophecy because those 70 years have already come and gone and nothing happened. And I mean, that may have kicked off the prophetic timeline. We may be about maybe 3.5 years deep into this, or coming up on 3 years. But we'll have to see all this stuff. I'm just kind of spitballing right now about those sort of things. But anyways, back to this. So it's talking about the agreement will not last or work out in his favor. So that could have been the nuke deal, but it most likely will be something about a temple. But we'll have to keep our eye on it. Next, he will put his attention to the coastlands and islands and capture many. So we'll have to look into more and see what situations can kind of fulfill that. But here's the part where I'm looking very cautiously at this and seeing if this is in fact the time that we're in, where it says, next he will put his attention to the coastlands and islands and capture many, but an army commander will put a stop to his outrages and cause his outrages to come back on him. So I think we're pretty close to that. and it says, but after this he will put his attentions and strongholds in his own land. He will put his attention on the strongholds of his own land, and we can already see that the internal striving and strife that is going on in you know, America, and that, you know, he's put his attention on this, you know, and this is like in a militaristic way, because that's what this whole passage is about, like military forces. And so this king has turned his military in on itself, in on its own, in the strongholds of his own land. He's deployed his military. He's doing it in Portland, Chicago. He's going to do it in Albuquerque, threatening New York. So this could be the early stages of this passage, and this fulfillment that this guy could possibly be this sixth king. But again, all of these scenarios have to be fulfilled for this guy to actually be, um, you know, this character. So that's where I'm kind of at this. I'm looking at these things carefully, watchfully. I'm really, you know, trying to keep a close eye on these things, to be aware of the time that I'm in. I hope you'll do the same, that you'll study these things closely and carefully. But I just wanted to point the whole point of this is just is that's the point I want to make, and have you aware that look at these things and see how this or the next leader fulfills these, because this passage is very clear on where, like, if you can match everything up and understand this passage clearly, you'll, and understanding that sixth king and who that possibly is, then that'll set up your whole, like a lot of people try to they try to understand who the Antichrist is, but you can't understand that until you understand this sixth king and like what's coming before him. So these are the things that you need to look for to get. Otherwise, you're just gonna listen to these crazy people saying, "Oh, Trump's the Antichrist, Obama's the Antichrist, this, that, and the other," which they could be, because the eighth king is of the seven, right? It's